Hi. So recently I've been, as a compulsive deck builder, trying to explore different themes and colors for decks, and you find different strategies work for different players. So today I wanted to talk about a kind of new recent strategy I've been working on in my favorite colors, Sultai, well, also the colors that I think are emblematic of me as a problematic player. So this is VDK's corner of me talking about Sultai again because I'm a terrible person. Today's deck on deck is, I believe, a little brew I've been working on with the 13th Doctor and Visler Turlough, although it's probably going to be the Mothman when it comes out because, thanks to you all, that is one of our best ranked videos, or viewed, don't know. That in the food chain video. So what's more than likely going to end up happening is it's going to be a separate video of just those two, but we'll talk about that one. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So here's the thing. Sultai's in a very weird spot in terms of power level, as we've all known, come to understand, and I've talked at ad nauseum. Pun intended. Um, so I wanted to try something really exploratory and push the colors to see what it can do. So that's how I came up with this deck. This deck is simple. It mostly relies on the fact that Visler Turlough is an absolute brick shithouse and carries the deck on his back because he draws you a bunch of cards because you don't have to actually have him enter the battlefield under someone else's control. And with that, it uses exile type effects it uses his ability to draw cards and then draw into a win percentage by having other support cards that draw a card, and then that allows the deck to control/assemble wins from the other commander, the 13th Doctor. Usually using something like Food Chain, Beseech the Mirror, Razakath, or something thereof. Side note, there will be probably a deck list somewhere in the description or in the pinned comments. We're still trying to figure out how that works, so bear with us on that. But regardless of that, the goal of this deck is simple. It's to utilize Sultai's best traits. And so what I think Sultai's best traits are, because I shit on it previously, are very simple. It's very good at playing an efficient game of going point A to point B. Point A being, I have nothing on board, point B being winning. It's probably second best colors at doing that, minus maybe Grixis, but Grixis is held by the fact that you have one creature that's doing pretty much all of the work and one enchantment that's doing all of the work. Neither of those will be named because I hate them and I hope they die. But the goal of this deck is less mean. It's very much simply, okay, what's my game plan? Okay, I cast Visler Turlough. Okay, so I've casted Visler Turlough. What's the flowchart? After Visler Turlough, do I have Food Chain in hand? Nope. Okay, get to Food Chain. If I can't get to Food Chain, get to something that gets me to Food Chain. So with that, you get like your tutors, your Razakath, because I really like Razakath, and like a few other things here and there that I'm still ironing the deck out a bit. Or something that draws you into more cards to get to Food Chain. And then after you get to Food Chain, you get to one of your creatures that you can play from exile. You infinitely cast that. Then you use your other commander, 13th Doctor, who has the unique little ability of putting +1/+1 counters on everything. Our target creature, let me make sure she actually says that. Okay, she does actually say that. Sorry, these foil surges are hard to read sometimes. Using her ability to put +1/+1 counters on everything to essentially establish a winning board. And this can win through one of two ways. So in the search for weird creatures that win the game off of having +1/+1 counters and drawing cards, I found 3 that do it, although I'm probably going to cut one of them for Walking Ballista because it's Walking Ballista, and for all of those who are enfranchised to the game, you already know what that does, but for those who don't, it's an XX creature spell that when it has counters on it, you can remove a counter and deal damage to something. And I think you can also pay mana to add it. Which I don't think really matters because what you're really just trying to do now is just put counters on it with this, and then you make infinite counters with that, and then you deal infinite damage because your commander makes infinite counters off of Food Chain, casting the exiled card from exile, which will be from outside of hand, which triggers 13th Doctor, which triggers the creature, demonstrating a loop to give infinite counters on anything. So you can either deal infinite damage with that. The second route is with, I believe, Fathom Mage or Fathom Sage, and what it reads is it's a evolved creature that says whenever you put a counter on it, draw a card. So you do the same thing, but you draw a card, and then you would win through something like a Thassa's Oracle or a Laboratory Maniac with infinite creature mana. So you play all your creatures, and then you just play Thassa's Oracle. That's one of the other win cons. But you know me, I play weird and unconventional, and I wanted to do something really dumb. So I have a third-ish win con that I'm still trying to work out on, of just I make everything so obnoxiously large, give them all haste and swing out and just be like, cool, you're all dead. And so that's the deck in a nutshell. It's still ironing out some of the kinks in terms of like draws and like tuning it for higher power, because I know you're gonna bear with me because I know this is gonna sound crazy. So this is probably going to be the fairest CDH deck at the table. It plays all of the good cards that everybody's playing, but it doesn't play them at the same degenerate level where you're not gonna, well, I mean, you could. Necroportin's Born Upon the Wind, draw like 70 cards and win from there. I mean, everybody can do that, but this deck doesn't really want to play like that because your commander draws you an extra card, but he also punishes you for playing greedily, but he also praises you for playing faster, because it's like the less cards you have in hand, the less damage you're going to take, and so you're just like churning out. The goal is to churn out the deck as fast as possible to get to point A, 0, point B, commander, Visitor Turlo, point C, food chain, point D, win. That's it. It's very simple, straight line. There's not going to be like any brain freeze loops or any dockside loops or any of those, as I like to call them. We're not talking about this or this. We're talking about this. It's just a straight line. It's very simple, and it's very straightforward. It allows a lot of like skill expression in terms of just like, okay, so how do I deal with being stopped? And that's the goal. That's the simple portion of this deck, and that's all this deck wants to do. I don't know what the series is going to be called as I like wrap up this video, because I have like a bunch of weird variants of like CDH decks in my head. Another one I'm working on is Thrasios Breaches, but I still have to iron out a lot of the stuff about that, because it's essentially the Tamir Pirates deck, but it's also Palquin Halden, but it's also Thrasios Dargo, but it's also Thrasios Roxai. Because it's every Tamir deck in one, and that's the joke. That's the meme. It's like, I'm every Tamir deck you're ever gonna play. Have fun in competitive Magic. So that's the current goal after this one, or maybe just Thrasios. What's his face with Kark the Thumbless, because that deck's hilarious, but it also is really hard to pilot because you can just sit there and not do anything if you're not careful, which really sucks, but also probably just means I don't have enough free spells, because that's where Quark really shines, is the free spells. Regardless, wrapping up, this has been VDK. This has been something I want to try out in terms of like giving you like faster deck techs that aren't necessarily related to like Melodic Mayhem, but also something that like I'm like working on in just like my evil mad scientist mind of like doom and gloom. So hope you like this. If you do, comment, do all the YouTuber stuff, and have a good night, y'all.